Hello, everyone. This is Liz. I'm currently wearing my new favorite mask. Yesterday, I talked about the film Houseu, and lo and behold, someone makes a mask from the cat, and this is my new favorite thing. It is Thursday. I am live from the Derry Public Library Children's Film, and I am here to talk about streaming recommendations on Hulu and Prime. So, we're kind of, I guess, gonna front load on some heavier films. The first are two different films that I think discuss the same topic slash period of time. So it's Say Her Name, The Life and Death of Sandra Bland, and Whose Street. So Say Her Name, if you've seen that hashtag or heard that chanted at a rally, that came from the death of Sandra Bland. This was a woman who was pulled over for a traffic infraction, arrested for supposedly being, mouthy to the officer, and then ended up dead in a jail cell. And everyone who knew her was really did not accept the explanation that she committed suicide, and there is still, you know, we still don't really know what happened to her. So with that, Say Her Name became a rallying cry to focus police violence, not just on black men, but on black women who are victims of it as well. And the other film is Who Street, is specifically about the Ferguson uprising in 2014. So this is made and I think distributed by Magnolia Pictures, and they actually do really good documentary work. So again, if you're looking for something to look in, to watch to become more educated on the Black Lives Matter movement, or sort of where this the seeds were planted years ago. These both would be good films to watch. Again, heavy subjects, but sometimes we need to watch movies on that. Speaking of heavy subjects, the next film is an anime called Grave of the Fireflies. So I think I've always said about film that I think film can be powerful. It can change your perspective on something. It can give you, you know, a look into another world. It's not just there for entertainment. It genuinely can be a teaching tool and actually help someone develop empathy. And that was the case with Grave of the Fireflies. So when I was in high school, our teacher, when we were learning about World War II, had us watch this. And this is a film that's about two Japanese children. They're orphaned during the fire bombings of Kobe, and they essentially have to fend for themselves. And not really a spoiler alert because you learn this at the beginning of the film. They end up dying and neglected by pretty much everyone. And she did that not only to show us a different perspective of people who suffered during World War II, but she also did that to show us that even in supposed enemy countries, there are people that are victimized who have nothing to do with really what's going on. This film is actually made by Studio Ghibli, which you probably know from more lighthearted films like My Neighbor Totoro. Um, Actually, so Miyazaki, who directed Totoro, this is directed by one of his colleagues, Isao Takahata, who did pass away recently. And fun fact, this was a double bill with My Neighbor Totoro. That's a mood whiplash if there ever was one. But it debuted to critical acclaim in the West. Roger Ebert put it on his great movies list, gave it 4 stars, and said this is one of the best anti-war films ever made. And I agree with him, because even though it is about a country that was our enemy during World War II, the children in this film are just as much victims as anyone in America would have been at that time. In a sadder postscript, the man who wrote the original story, it is based on something that happened to him. His sister died when he and his sister were orphaned. So if it's a powerful experience, it's, I think, still one of the most powerful films I've ever seen. And I think if you doubt that animation can do anything more than just be for children and lighthearted, I would recommend watching this movie. But I have a whole just box of Kleenex ready. So final Hulu recommendation, something a little more lighthearted, still important, but I don't think you'll want to just, I don't know, go cry. This is called Kiki. So probably a month ago, I recommended Paris is Burning on Netflix, and I've recommended Pose, which is about the New York ballroom culture. So this is sort of a spiritual sequel to Paris is Burning, and this is about that culture in New York as it is now. And like Paris is Burning, it doesn't shy away from some of the hardships that these LGBTQ teens, young adults, and general adults deal with. But there's also a sense of joy here because these are people that truly have found a place and a space to be themselves. And I think sometimes, depending on who you are, that's something you take for granted. So it is, I would definitely recommend watching the documentary. So on to Amazon Prime. I'm actually very surprised it took me this long to recommend it. I have actually never seen an episode of the show, but I know that people love it. So Prime does have all of Downton Abbey. So if you've never seen it or you would simply like to rewatch it, and our DVDs are out, it has all of Prime. Prime has all of Downton Abbey. I don't believe they have the film though. That is the one caveat. Up next, I do have another Pride Month pick. This is called Disobedience. This came out last year. Kind of came and went, which is surprising considering it stars two fairly big actresses, Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams. And this is about two women who are in love with each other, but they're in the Orthodox Jewish community. So it is a story we've seen before, but it's done in a different setting. And I would say watch it if only for McAdams and Weisz. I think they're both great actresses. Um, Sorry, I'm sweating a lot. We do not have the AC working in here yet, and I'm always anything above 75 is too hot to live. Up next is a movie. I don't know if I'd call it a guilty pleasure. I know it's not like a high art film, but I love it none the same. Is Dirty Dancing. I think that's something this movie a lot of people love. It's Patrick Swayze. I mean, who doesn't love Patrick Swayze? It's coming of age story, Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. Actually, I went back and rewatched it, and I think it is a lot more mature and it has a lot more going on than I think people give it credit for. I think it's usually dismissed as just a love story, but there's a lot about the Jennifer Grey character, Baby, finding out about the differences between socioeconomic classes and kind of realizing, like, oh, not everyone has the same opportunities and chances that I do. I actually think it's a better coming of age movie than some other movies. But I'd recommend it, and if anything else, it's Patrick Swayze dancing. Just he's a delight. I love him. And finally, I'm going to recommend one of the best murder mysteries I've seen in years, Knives Out. So that came out last year and was directed by Rian Johnson. And it is sort of like, wow, what do you do after you direct a Star Wars movie? He decided, I'm going to direct an Agatha Christie homage. And he did a fantastic job. Not only did he update Agatha Christie, he created a new character. I'm blanking on his name, but he's played by Daniel Craig doing a wonderfully exaggerated Southern accent. And the thing I like about this movie is I genuinely was guessing for a while. It did keep me wondering what actually happened. Every single actor in this is great. You have Chris Evans, who I think is a great actor, but I loved that he was playing someone so far removed from his Steve Rogers character. Christopher Plummer is great in like his small role. Don Johnson of Miami Vice fame is in this, and he's good. Toni Collette is never bad, and neither is Jamie Lee Curtis. Also, I'm blanking on the kid's name, but he was in the It movie and a couple of other movies. He plays the young boy, the teen boy. I usually don't like him because he always looks like he's smelling something bad, and I feel bad saying this because he is young, but I'm like, wow, this is the first time I actually felt he was perfect for a role, and I'll just leave it at that. And if you did not get a chance to see Knives Out in theaters, take the chance on Prime now and watch it. It is great, and it was definitely one of the most entertaining movies last year. Um, Also, you see Jamie Lee Curtis in this like hot pink pantsuit, which I totally want. Well, hopefully you'll check out some of these films, and I will see you tomorrow with Freebie Friday. And this is Liz, signing off.